Hello and welcome to another episode of UA Overtime. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving break. We're back for another episode. I'm here with Carl and Megan. My name's Joe and I'm your host. Our first quarter topic is going to be the NBA. There was a big brawl a couple nights ago, well, if you want to call it a brawl, involving the new Brooklyn Nets and the Celtics. There was a big deal going on there, so we're going to talk about first our reactions to that. They're catching a lot of heat for what happened, so we're going to give our thoughts, and then we'll move on to some more topics in the NBA. So, Carl, what do you think?
You know, I think Rondo's suspension was fair because, you know, he's been in these problems before, and he's had 2 suspensions in the last 9 months. So, you know, he needs to learn when and when not to get involved with people. I know he's sticking up for his teammate KG, but KG can handle himself. You know, I'm sick of seeing these fights, and you know, now he's missing 2 games that are crucial for the Celtics, and it's ridiculous. I think he just needs to learn when not to. He's a very emotional player. We all know that, but he needs to learn when not to get into arguments with people because it happens too many times for Rondo.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think the league was right suspending him, but it's not good for their team. It's good for the media, you know, they have something to talk about, but in the 2 games coming up, Rondo's a crucial player to that team, and they're going to really regret, you know, him going off like that. Kevin Garnett, he can handle himself. He's a big guy. Like, I agree, like, stick it up for your team, you know, good for you. But other than that, you know, with the fines that Gerald Wallace got and Kevin Garnett got, that's still fair. But it's sad to see, like, a crucial player going down.
Absolutely. My thought on the entire thing, first of all, the NBA had to do what it had to do, so I'm not at all opposed to the fines or the suspension. It's just the part that bothered me is that it started with KG and Chris Humphries. It was a flop by KG. He's supposed to be one of the tough big men, and you know you can't be going down when Chris Humphries just goes up to foul you. He barely grazed him with his left arm, and KG like flew to the ground out of bounds, made it look way worse than it was. If you watch the replay, it really wasn't bad. Rondo sees at a bad angle that, you know, Chris Humphries took a shot at his boy, so he comes over and he wants to do something about it. So it's unnecessary to the point where it shouldn't have even happened. I understand it did. It's good for the media, you're right. It's good. Honestly, it's good for the NBA in terms of ratings. It creates a little bit of a rivalry now for the Celtics and the Nets. Next time they play, there's going to be more people watching than there was. But it's just kind of a necessary thing. I don't condone it, but I fully understand that David Stern had to do what he had to do about that.
I feel like they use it as Rondo used an excuse that, oh, you know, Humphries, he's a dirty player, so I'm going to get away with, you know, hitting him because he does it all the time. But KG did the wrong thing, and he deserved to get suspended.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think it should be called a brawl. I think it was a little misconception, you know, misinterpretation there.
Yeah, it was a cat fight.
So for the NBA to call it a brawl, I think is kind of, you know, humorous, but you know, it happened, and it's good to talk about, you know.
Exactly.
Whatever.
So our next thing we're going to talk about in the NBA, last night, the Spurs were supposed to face the Heat in a big game between 2 top teams in the NBA. And since the Heat were playing so many games in such a the Spurs rather were playing such a hard schedule with these, you know, they had 5 games in 4 days. So they sent home their top 4 players. They sent home Parker, Ginobili, Duncan, and Green. They sent them back to San Antonio, and they didn't even attend the game versus the Heat last night. So David Stern came out and said that he's not okay with this. There's going to be sanctions to come and punishments. So we're going to get our reactions on that. So, Carl, how do you feel about this?
You know, I think that's ridiculous for some team to do that. I don't care that you care about winning. You're supposed to give a show to the fans. People are paying money to see your team play. They expect the 5 starters to play, and you send your guys back to San Antonio. I mean, it's the Heat and Spurs, 2 of the best teams in the league, and you pretty much give up. That shows a sign of weakness from the Spurs front office, and I don't like that decision at all. I would be very upset if I was a Spurs fan and I went to that game because those seats aren't cheap either. To go to a Heat game and watch the Spurs play, those aren't going to be cheap seats. I disagree with that completely.
Okay.
I agree. I'm totally against it. You can't send 4 of your biggest players home on a game against the Heat, who is a very good team. You know, you have LeBron James. Who's going to guard him if you send Duncan home or if you send, you know, whoever? But I think that it gave the Heat the game almost. You know, they wouldn't have won unless, you know, Ray Allen hit the 3. But I also think that it's dirty for them to send him home.
Absolutely. Unanimous here. I completely agree. The thing that really bothered me is, you know, they made it seem like, oh, they're going through such a hard patch. It's like the 16th game of the season.
Yeah.
In an 82-game season, what happens like a month down the road or 2 months down the road? Are you going to just start sending players home because you have a tough week? You know, when it hits Friday and you're working in the office, you don't just get to not show up for work.
Yeah.
You can't just not come in because it's a Friday and you've had a tough week. These guys are professional athletes being paid top dollar, millions and millions of dollars to go out and put another show on. And a point that they're going to bring up that I heard other people say, if you want to give your guys a break or whatever, let them go and sit the bench. You don't send them home on a flight and not have them attend the game. If I was a fan, I'd be furious.
Yeah. If I bought a ticket
furious.
to that game, I probably wouldn't go. That's how mad I would be.
People have to look. When you guys get a chance, look at the starting lineup last night for the Spurs. Literally 5 no-namers. Thiago Splitter is the only person that anybody's ever heard of. And actually, the funny part is they almost beat the Heat. So as a Spurs fan, you got to be thinking, wow, if we went out there full strength, maybe that would have been a victory, a tough victory versus a great team. So it's definitely something that we don't condone here, and that just, just a lack of respect almost from the Spurs front office, and we don't support that. But it is what it is, so we'll see what happens further on in the year. Stay tuned with us. We're going to come back for our second quarter debate. Welcome back. Our second quarter debate is going to be on some college football. This weekend is a big weekend for college football fans. It's championship weekend. Our big games we have, the Pac-12 championship is Stanford, UCLA, the Big Ten, Wisconsin, Nebraska, and the biggest game of the weekend, the SEC championship, Alabama versus Georgia, in which the winner of that game is going to end up in the national championship versus Notre Dame. So we're going to first pick that game and our thoughts on that, and then we're going to later talk about Notre Dame. So Carl, what do you have to say?
I'm looking for a great defensive battle. This is a huge game for both teams, obviously. Georgia wants to come in there and really beat Alabama because they're trying to prove that they are the best team in the league, even though they slipped up the other week. I think that Alabama will come away with a win. They've got a tougher team. They know how to play defense. They know how to score. But really, I'm going to pay attention to how Alabama's offense goes against Georgia's defense because Georgia has a very good defense, and I think they're underrated. Jarvis Jones should be top 5 NFL draft pick next year, and I think that it'll be closer than most people think. So whichever team wins goes to play Notre Dame, and it'll be great. It'll be a great game.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree. I think Alabama's going to take away with the win, but I am excited to see how Aaron Murray, the quarterback for Georgia, is going to deal with the pressure. He's 0-3 for big games right now, and for him to deal with the pressure without his 2 key wide receivers, I think Alabama's pass rushing defense is going to kind of take away with the win there.
Okay. I definitely like this game. It's going to be an exciting game to watch. I do think Alabama's going to come away with the victory, but you have to understand that Georgia's not going to get ruled over. They feel disrespected. They're a good team. They've been a good team the entire year. They have 1 loss. They play in a great conference in the SEC. They are not happy. There's predicted right now there's almost 4 people that could be first-round draft picks on their defense right now.
Yeah.
They're feeling disrespected. They feel like Alabama is just getting all the credit here. Alabama's going to walk through them and go play in the national championship. They're not going to be happy. Aaron Murray, great player. A.J. McCarron's a great player. So I'd like to see the quarterback matchup. Usually you hear SEC teams, you think about great defense, but this is going to be a battle of offenses as well, and that's definitely going to be an exciting game.
Yeah.
It's definitely – go ahead.
Sorry. And another big thing for Georgia is they're playing in the Georgia Dome. They have the home field advantage. Regardless of how good Alabama is, half those fans are going to be for Georgia. So, they should go into this being confident. I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely going to be a close game, but it is going to come down to offense, and the freshmen of both teams, whoever breaks out, I think will take away the win almost because you're looking for someone to step up to the plate in such a big game.
Absolutely. So the next thing we're going to talk about, we're saying the winner of that game is going to play Notre Dame. So this is the first time that Notre Dame has made a national championship since 1988. It's been a while. Notre Dame fans have been, deprived of a winning season in a bunch of years. They really have been down. This is one of the nation's most popular programs. So we're going to talk about our reactions to that. So what do you think, Carl?
It's absolutely great for their school. It's great for the sport. Notre Dame has a great tradition, and just to see them back at number 1 again it's amazing. All the legends, all the past great teams, I think that just the fact that they're in the game, regardless if they're number 1 or 2, is a great thing for the sport, and I'm looking forward to them showing their tradition on the field and representing college football in the best way possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's awesome for the sport. It brings a lot more competition for someone for Notre Dame not to have a good team the past few years and be #1 is such a hit. Like it's for people who don't normally watch college football to say, wow, this team has grown, and it's good to see players grow and teams grow, and people like the attention.
Yeah. My feelings about it, obviously, you know, I do think it's good for college football, but as a fan of other teams, I'm going to be nervous. Notre Dame is not one of these schools where, you know, they've had great years or people are going to go there to win. They haven't had a good past 4 years. Like, people are going there because of the tradition. Now they're going there because they know they can make it to the NFL. They know that they compete for national championships. This recruiting class the next 2 years is going to be unbelievable.
Yeah.
If I'm a rival of Notre Dame, I'd be nervous. This is not good.
Yeah.
They have a top defense. They have a good coach in Brian Kelly. This is not going to be, you know, a stroll in the park for teams the next couple of years going to play the Notre Dame in the last 10 years that you're thinking of.
Especially USC.
Especially
and
USC.
Stanford.
You're not happy about that because USC and Notre Dame usually go for a lot of the same prospects. But I would not be thrilled if I'm a USC fan, maybe a Big Ten fan, a lot of those people in the Midwest out there. So
yeah,
it's going to be tough.
The recruits are going to have a really hard decision going, you know, am I going to go to Notre Dame? Am I going to go to Stanford? Like, it's going to be hard for them.
Absolutely. Anything else? You're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. We're going to go into our halftime break here. We're going to come back and talk about the NFL. Stay with us.
Yeah, the Knicks got some team. You know, Carmelo Anthony, Amari Stoudemire. I can't even think about that. How's it going, guys? I know here on UA Double Overtime we're a sport-related show, but today I want to talk about our youth. And a big problem with our youth today is marijuana. But what I want to know is, does our youth have the strength to say no?
UA Overtime, #1 in sports and #1 in fighting the war on drugs.
Welcome back. Our third quarter debate is going to be on the NFL. We got a big deal here. We're talking about the NFC West leading San Francisco 49ers have quite the QB controversy right now in between rookie Colin Kaepernick and veteran Alex Smith. So we're going to try and give who we think should be the starter here. If you're the head coach, Carl, who are you starting this weekend and for the rest of the year?
I hate to say it, but I'm going to go with Kaepernick. You know, at the end of the day, he's a better quarterback, and I'll give you 3 reasons why. He's a better scrambler, and he's more athletic. He's not afraid to throw the ball into tight spaces, and he's a great team leader. If you ever watch him play, he's so competitive on and off the field. It's ridiculous, and I think that Jim Harbaugh made the right decision. I feel bad to say for Alex Smith, you know, he's been starting the past year, and he's now, you know, he's like, what happened? But Kaepernick, at the end of the day, he's a better athlete, he's a better quarterback, and if it doesn't work out, then maybe we'll see Alex Smith come back. But right now, he's gonna go Kaepernick. So.
Okay, Megan?
Yeah, I think it's really unfair to Alex Smith. In my opinion, I would pick Alex Smith. It's his team. He has played so many games with his team to go to Kaepernick. I mean, yes, the statistics show, and he is all the points that you made, so true. He's a great quarterback, but I think it's Alex Smith's team, and the players feel comfortable with him. And it's sad because he just got a concussion. You know, how are you going to lose your starting spot over a concussion?
Yeah.
So I would go with Smith.
Okay. First thing I want to say, it is unfortunate for any player in any sport to lose their job, to lose their position, their starting job, because of injury. It is unfortunate, but that happens. It happens in professional sports, and it especially happens in the NFL. The most famous case, obviously, is the Drew Bledsoe-Tom Brady.
Yes.
Drew Bledsoe goes out, never gets his starting job back. Look where Tom Brady is now. We could be looking at something like that now. See, the thing, if I'm Jim Harbaugh, I'm starting Kaepernick. You have the hot hand right now. Not only he's the younger player, he brings more to the table. Your offense is more explosive. It's very rare in the NFL that a game manager, if you want to call Alex Smith a game managing quarterback, wins the Super Bowl. Last time you seen it was Trent Dilfer. It happens all the time. You saw what happens with the Jets when they have Mark Sanchez, a game manager, someone who doesn't go out there and put the team on his back and can make plays. You can get far with a good defense and a good O-line and a good running game, but only so far. And you've seen that with the Jets, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen every year for the 49ers unless they get a player like Colin Kaepernick, which now they have. As a Giant fan, also in the NFC, I'm not thrilled about this because Kaepernick brings a new edge, a new thing you have to prepare for every week with that mobile quarterback, and it's becoming more prominent in the NFL now, something that you didn't see in the past.
And it definitely builds a San Francisco team. You know, they already have a stellar defense. Just the fact that now they have a quarterback that's mobile and can throw the ball, that makes them a huge threat to anyone in the league. And Harbaugh is doing the right thing. You know, it sucks for Smith, but Kaepernick is a great quarterback, and it's going to be really tough for any team to beat them now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you're going to start a rookie, now is the time to start a rookie. This is the most talented team in the NFL, hands down. They have the best defense, the most talented defense, a good O-line, an unbelievable amount of weapons, to the point where Randy Moss is maybe their 4th or 5th best receiver. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
If you're going to put a rookie into the fire, now's the time, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, he is going in with a little bit of inexperience, and I know Smith has the experience, but you could see him break out. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
And they could always get rid of Smith. I was thinking maybe they get rid of Smith and bring him to the Jets, get a first-round pick or something.
Absolutely. There's
Yeah, you
endless
never know.
possibilities.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting rest of the season for the San Francisco 49ers. We'll see what happens. We're going to go to break, come back for our fourth quarter debate, talk about Major League Baseball. Stay with us. Welcome back. Our fourth quarter debate is going to be at Major League Baseball. Came to the news finally that 3 of the big, controversial players, Sammy Sosa, Roger Clemens, and Barry Bonds, are all eligible for the Hall of Fame this year. They're all going to be put on the ballot. We've seen what happened the past couple of years with players like Rafael Palmeiro, where they're not getting any love from the voters. So we're going to see buy or sell right now. Do you buy that these players should make it into the Hall of Fame, or are you selling it? Megan?
I'm selling it. I don't think that they should be eligible for it, If we put our ballots in for them and, we vote for, Sosa and Bonds and Clemens, what's baseball leading to? If people vote for them, where's it going to go in the future? We have to get away from the steroids, and we have to start focusing on who has a real skill and who should be on the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the fact that people would actually vote for them is ridiculous. I think that Biggio, Bagwell, and Curt Schilling are all deserving. They're great players. Biggio and Bagwell, 2 of the greatest Astros to ever play for Houston. And Curt Schilling is a great pitcher. I mean, he has a 600 win percentage in his career, a 2.23 ERA in the postseason, and he has over 3,000 strikeouts. I mean, and he's won 3 World Series on 2 different teams. I think that they deserve it because they didn't cheat, and they're great players. These 3 players, Bonds, Clemens, and Sosa, everyone knows them, but they got their accomplishments because they cheated. They weren't natural players that didn't use performance-enhancing drugs, and it's not fair for them to be considered 3 of the greatest players in MLB history, because they're not. They cheated, and nobody should be voted to go to the Hall of Fame if they cheated. It's simple.
Okay, this is a very slippery slope for me. It's hard for me to decide because you do have some of the greatest players, but here's the thing. We don't have a yes or no for every player. You can't just run down the list if they did it or didn't do it. There's people who are rumored.
Yeah.
There's people who have been convicted, who've they found out that they did it, and then there's players that maybe have skated by. Are you going to put a player in? Say everything you said about Curt Schilling, 100% correct. What if it comes out tomorrow that Curt Schilling was doing steroids? Then is he is he automatically out? Because we don't know right now. Now he's in. We find out tomorrow that he's in steroids, and then he's out. It's a very slippery slope, and it's a very controversial topic because it's getting to the point where in the next couple of years, it's going to come down where almost everybody left on the ballot is going to be from the steroid era, and they're going to be rumored to use. So then what are we going to do? Some people are talking about the idea of putting up an asterisk next to their name in the Hall of Fame, saying they played in this era, they're rumored. Can we do that? It's a tough thing.
Yeah,
it's really a tough sell.
It completely ruins the sport when you do that. I mean, people look at baseball and they say, it's a great game, and just the fact that people are cheating now because, they're finding new drugs and better ways to, build their performance. I don't like it at all, and the fact that people are actually, doing it and trying to get away with it, it's just so sneaky. And if I was Bud Selig, I'd probably be very upset.
It's sad. It's sad that there's many people in the Hall of Fame who did get away with it.
Yeah.
There's people in there we don't know if they did steroids or not, and what if they did and they're great players? But what if, they didn't and they were great players? So it really comes down to where we want baseball to go in the future.
Prime example, Lance Armstrong, someone who's a great role model. He was never prosecuted or caught or anything, and now all of a sudden you find out that he was a cheater, and now everybody turns their back on him. It's a very, very slippery slope for Major League Baseball. Bud Selig has to keep these penalties strong and has to take control of the MLB, or else in 10 years we're going to have nobody going to the Hall of Fame. It's going to be a big problem.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to come back for our overtime topic. We're going to talk about concussions in the NFL. Stay tuned. back. We're going to hit our overtime topic right now. We touched on it a little bit in the third quarter with the Colin Kaepernick, Alex Smith situation. Smith gets a concussion and loses his job now, and maybe for a permanent time. So we're going to talk about right now our feelings on concussions in the NFL, which is a very serious problem. You've seen the NFL take numerous different precautions to try and help this problem out. You have ex-players coming back saying that they're suffering from all these diseases and brain damage later on. So we're going to give our feelings right now on concussions, and is the NFL handling this correctly, and what else you have to say. Megan?
Yeah. I don't think the NFL handles it too much correctly. There should be more stuff to prevent these things. Like, I know that they have like the hits where they can call it out and there's penalties, but other than that, I think they should create more rules or something like pads or helmets or anything like that. But it's sad to see like good players go down with concussions because they're never going to come back to their full potential.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think the NFL should do a little bit more to prevent these things, but at the end of the day, this is football, and that's just a sport. It's very hard not to have a game without concussions because people aren't going to watch a game where they're sissy tapping each other and they're not actually being competitive. It's part of the game, and I think it's a tough decision for the NFL to try and get rid of these hits because that's just what the fans are used to seeing, and I don't know what they're going to do. Hopefully they don't ease up on the fines and they bring them up higher, but they teach players how to hit and not be aggressive in the same way where it's safe, but it's not a bad thing for the league. So
yeah.
Absolutely. It's a tough thing to talk about. Concussions obviously are very, very serious. It starts off with coaches teaching the little kids in Pop Warner how to properly tackle, the proper rules of football, the fundamentals, but it goes all the way up to the NFL to the point where if you're Alex Smith, if you could go back in time and you told him this was going to happen, he would have lied and did whatever it would have taken for him to be able to not sit on the bench and let Colin Kaepernick get in. And this happens all the time. This is the reason that players get their bell rung and they act like they're fine and they want to go back in because they know that there's 3 people that were also All-State and All-American in high school. They were All-Americans in college. These aren't a bunch of scrubs sitting on the bench and they're going to put you in because you're the best player. Everybody in the NFL can play, and the last thing these people want to do, because it doesn't happen, if you're like a big-name player and you have a big contract, they're going to stick you back in. But if you're, if you're the second-string wide receiver and you're playing for a little bit, probably the same amount as a third string, they have no problem putting someone else in for you, and it's a big problem for the NFL. I do like the steps that they've taken over the past couple of years. They have done more than they have in the past, and the NFLPA is working with the NFL to try and make different rules to, hopefully fix this problem.
yeah.
All right, we're going to go right into our final thoughts here. The end of our show. Megan, what do you got?
All right, I'm a big fan of Syracuse basketball, so I'm excited for the game tonight against Arkansas. It's going to be a tough matchup. Michael Carter-Williams, there's a lot of talk about him being one of the very good point guards in the Big East right now. And I'm just excited to watch it because they haven't went out to, in the Central America, or excuse me, in the middle of the United States in a while, and this team hasn't had a matchup between each other since 1995. So I think you're going to see a lot of different things. So it's going to be an exciting game.
Absolutely, big game. Carl, what do you got for us?
My final thought is Ray Lewis coming back. ESPN reported today that he should be back with the Ravens on December 16th, and I'm hoping that he brings their team together more. I think that the Ravens will be a tougher team with him. They'll be more mentally physical, and that they'll probably go far in the playoffs with him. He's a great team leader.
Okay, both great points. My final thought is going to be on this year's version in the draft of Janoris Jenkins last year. Janoris Jenkins, the cornerback for the Saints, I don't know, for those who don't know, was a cornerback for the Florida Gators for the past 3 years in college and then got in some trouble and transferred to a smaller school and then got drafted late, much later than he would have if he didn't get in trouble. Well, Tyrann Mathieu, former LSU safety, punt returner, kick returner, overall playmaker, finished in the top 3 of the Heisman last year, has declared for the NFL draft. Todd McShay right now says he's slated to be a 4th-round draft pick. He's a first-round talent. Whoever drafts him is going to get an absolute steal. He's a great player. He's a big-time playmaker. If you can harness his great playmaking ability and his energy towards football and not the extracurricular activity with the drugs and partying, if you can get someone to talk to him, he is going to be a steal in the draft. I would look out for him come this time next year. But that's our show for today. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. I'll see you guys in a week.
Get that second one.
And he loses focus, Mike.
started doing bad habits on the floor.
Dragic misses the technical. And a technical foul on Rasheed Wallace. He's gone. Wallace picks up 2 quick technicals.
You called it, Mike.
Yeah.
Everybody, don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is UA_overtime. Thanks, guys.